My biggest win with the journey has been that inner peace and just that fundamental knowing that I've got a full purpose and a great deal more happiness.
That was amazing for me, and actually for my whole family. Allowed us to keep this open mind on life and to open to all the opportunities.
I have so much more freedom and self-connection and health and vibrancy. I just feel more alive.
The journey helped me to understand what my emotions are, not to be scared of them.
It changed my life. It cleared all blocks and brought into my consciousness what my heart's desire was.
Now I feel my life is easier. I feel stronger, feel what I feel and find a new solution.
To be free from the burden on my shoulders. I live in the moment now, and I'm open to my emotions from the highest to the lowest.
Until the journey, I didn't really know that I could get to the same depth without using any substance. It's getting easier and easier to connect to the deepest part of myself.
Probably the biggest improvement is my inner life or my inner freedom to be as myself, in myself, not being a victim of circumstances and the other people.
The journey has really been a second chance in life for me. Having permission to dive deep and find out who the real authentic me was and just to be that person has just been wonderful.
When you listen to yourself and when you really touch your soul, something magical happens.
Life is different because of the journey. I feel I have all the tools I need to face whatever life throws at me. Life has become fun.
My biggest win was healing a broken heart, and not once, many times. I would never have been able to be in the position that I am in now had it not been for the journey.
Befriending myself in really accepting who I am, that I am perfectly imperfect and I don't need fixing.
I've gained so much. So there is no one big win. If it had to be named as one thing, I would just say it's life-changing.
It's changed my world, it's changed my life, it's changed me. And it's allowed me to be open and vulnerable and completely transparent.
My biggest win as a result of using the journey would definitely be my ability to network and expand upon the goals that I've had for such a long period of time.
My biggest win since attending the Journey Intensive has been finding myself. It has been healing, transforming.
I am just so much more receptive and open to whatever God has planned for me. At the very core of me, being able to experience that peace has been priceless.
No, wonderful. Good day, good evening, wherever you are calling in from. And thank you so much for joining us. I've been reading all your hellos and comments from France, from Germany, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, from Budapest, from Romania, from Texas, from the US, from Switzerland, from Germany, all across Europe and further afield. A heartfelt welcome to tonight's discovery session of where Brandon has prepared a beautiful, beautiful session to uncover what our body is trying to tell us. So this is live with Brandon today. We also have somebody here from Israel, I'm just seeing, so welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. And we have a very, very special giveaway. At the end of this session, we will do a draw for a free place for the Journey Intensive. And we also have an announcement for a very, very special offer, a time-limited one. So please stay here, stay tuned. By the way, I'm Gabby Burt. I've been with the Journey for over 27 years. I've been working with Brandon and I have witnessed this work years in, years out, day to day, and it's profoundly transforming, life-changing, just as you've heard from the people that have spoken here. So this is, I hope, your next step into liberation, into life transformation, into freedom. So let's find out what your body is trying to tell you with Brandon live tonight. Please say a beautiful and heartfelt welcome to Brandon. And hello, Sweden also.
And a heartfelt welcome to everyone. I cannot tell you how moved I was, and I take a lot of time to read every single message that you send in about the challenges you're living through. And I'm very moved by them, and also that you would take the time to do that. And I always try to tailor these sessions, which are entirely spontaneous, to the various themes that are showing up. And there were so many physical issues and illnesses, yes, and there were traumas that were showing up that were very specific and unusual, and also deep emotional issues. And so we really got the full spectrum and the gamut of what people are facing and clearing and wanting to clear right now. And so I'm going to try to weave in what you've been going through into the teachings. And a couple of people were sharing, and one woman has stage 4 cancer, and she absolutely knows it's due to an overwhelming emotional upheaval that happened. So she knows that there's an emotional corollary. And in fact, what science has found is that when you feel a strong emotion and you repress it, it releases a quantifiable biochemistry that will go in the bloodstream to specific cellular locations and block the cells in that cellular location. And if over time illness happens, well, obviously it's bound to happen where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what science has found is when we feel our emotions very naturally and openly like a child does, our cell receptors remain open. And so, for instance, there are 3 hospitals in Israel where, let's say, you go in for heart surgery, and then you go into a recovery center, and that you spend a week in the recovery center, and they use the journey to get to the emotional root cause of what co-created that heart disease in the first place, with the prayer that it doesn't show up again. And that's that they did actually a few years worth of case studies, and they're actually making a documentary about it, where they are finding that those that undergo the journey actually are not experiencing, the stress, the pain, the rage, the anger, whatever it was that co-created the heart disease. So they're not coming back for further surgery. Same thing in the oncology department in another hospital, where, let's say, you're undergoing cancer treatment, you go for the week long, and they're using the journey method to get to the emotional root cause of what co-created the cancer in the first place. And they're finding it's not metastasizing as much as it usually does down the line. And the reason is that they found, when you feel this strong emotion and you repress it, and it releases that biochemistry, that with the journey, you actually go on a journey inside your body to get to the blocked cells, where the cell receptors are blocked, and literally uncover the old stored emotional patterns there, the old trauma that you lived through, the old pain that was there. And you go through a very deep process of not only uncovering what's stored inside your cells, but going through a deep and gentle but profound process of release and letting go and understanding what happened to you at that point, and ultimately forgiveness, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And that's why they're using this in hospitals and by medical doctors and psychiatrists and teachers and people from all walks of life, is because of the results that they're seeing. They also have a fibromyalgia and there's another one. They're at the 3rd hospital, and of course, they're getting incredible results. And the reason I brought up fibromyalgia is because 2 of you were sharing that you are living with the pain of that, and it's chronic. And so they are getting incredible results. So to let you know that it is possible to get to the emotional root cause of what's co-creating all these illnesses. Now, some of you were sharing, a couple of you actually said, and it's interesting that both of the people that shared both have spinal conditions. And yet they have multiple other conditions, where one person who has two spinal conditions has Epstein's-Barr, they have herpes, and they actually have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And the other one has a spinal condition. Let me remember how it said, spondylitis. I want to make sure I say it correctly. And they also, though, have Crohn's disease and a bronchial condition. And so sometimes when we start to have one condition, they pile on together. And of course, these people with these chronic conditions are wanting to get the emotional root cause. And one woman who just had surgery after she went through endometrial cancer and they did surgery, she's aware it's a big wake-up call. And the truth of the matter is, my prayers that we don't wait until we get this wake-up call, that we instead clear out the emotional issues before they end up manifesting as illness down the line. Now, there's also one woman who deeply moved me. She was sharing about trauma. And she said, and it's absolutely accurate to what science will tell you, she said that she was in a car accident many years ago. Now, you know what happens. If someone's in a car accident, obviously they're in a panic the moment they hit. But then what does the body do? It goes into shock, right? And there's a physiological, involuntary, automatic shutdown. Now, that emotion, that biochemistry is released and goes to that cellular location, and it gets stored and blocks those cells and gets stored inside the body. And she curiously said she always had a slender body, and within 2 weeks of the auto accident, suddenly she was piling on weight. And she's been dealing with obesity ever since that time. And even though she's lost weight on a few occasions, it's always come back. And the reason is part of the body's is trying to shut her down from feeling that extreme emotional pain that she went through. And with the journey, she'll be able to go on a journey inside her body to get to the exact moment where that shock happened, to uncover and finally release the stored emotions there, all the unmet and unspoken fear and pain and really out and out panic that happened and terror. And so it's a beautiful thing that we can get to the root of these traumas. Another person was saying that she had an abusive marriage, and so now she's having trouble grappling with life. And that when the abuse happens, that's when that shutdown happens. Because none of us were given a manual. How do you deal with these crises that happen in life? And so we don't know how to deal with them. And so we naturally shut down. And of course, there were those of you who were sharing about the emotional issues. One woman, I think all of you can relate to this. She was sharing how she feels that she's just worthless. She feels unworthy all the time. And she just longs to feel like she deserves a good life. Like she deserves it, but she can't believe that because she feels so unworthy. And I think that's something most of us can relate to on some level. And another's experiencing a family rift, and another's got burnout, and it's emotional burnout, mental burnout, physical burnout. And another woman lost a husband only in January. And so there's the grief there, but there's not only the grief there. She experiences that there's a lot of fear and upset around what she called the plandemic, which was happening during that whole time. And so one woman said she even can't even feel emotions. Another had depression. Another just would like to be free from the anger, the fear, the stress of it all. And so all of us have these emotional issues. And, let's say you're in a car and you're driving along and there's a lot of traffic and someone cuts you off in traffic. And you find that this rage just comes out. Now, the person who cut you off, they didn't come in the middle of the night and stick that rage inside of you. That rage was already inside of you. And all that happened was they pushed your buttons and up came the rage. And so, with all of us, we have a number of cell memories stored inside and emotional issues stored inside. Now, in my particular case, I was in the whole complementary medical field, with some of you been sharing in what you've been sharing in your messages, and I got certified in so many different areas. And I was 39 years old at the time, and I was living, breathing, doing everything that I felt would allow me to be vibrant and alive and be healthy. And I was definitely walking my talk. And at that time, I was teaching with Tony Robbins. I was presenting a program called Living Health, which was all about foods that you eat that create vibrant health, and how to work out in a way it oxygenates your body, even how to breathe in such a way it does. And so I had moved from New York City, my hometown, and had moved to California. And I was living in a tiny little beach shack on the sand in Malibu, California. And at that time, I'd been meditating since I was 19 years old. I was in a marriage I felt deeply blessed to be in. And I was working out every day, breathing all that fresh sea air coming in through the windows. And more important than that, I had a career that I felt passionate about, and a deep love shared with my husband. And you could have said that I was at a peak of life. And the last thing I ever expected to have happened. And my tummy started to grow. And I just didn't want to believe it was happening to me. How could it be happening to me? After all, I was doing everything right. And I was meditating one day, and it had gotten to a point where I couldn't even zip up my trousers anymore. And I just was ignoring that my tummy was growing. And even though I was very slender at the time, that area had gotten quite large. And instead of facing what was there, I started wearing long flowing dresses that were popular in that year. And then one day I was sitting for meditation. And many of you meditate. You wrote that in your messages, and you meditate. And there's a point in meditation where your mind kind of winds down and gets absolutely still. And out of nowhere came a gut knowing. I might be seriously ill, and I needed to get real and get myself to an orthodox medical doctor so I could have this thing diagnosed. And when I came out of meditation, a wave of shame came over me. And here I was, certified in so many different areas of complementary medicine and teaching thousands of people how to create vibrant health. And I might be seriously ill. And I just didn't have the guts to call up my best friend who was going to the kind of specialist I needed to go to. Instead, I went to the local bookshop and I pulled down a book in the women's section. I'd seen where it gained the weight, and where a surgeon did not advocate hysterectomies. And I called the number at the back of the book, and I asked to speak to the nurse there. And she said, "Do you know who this surgeon is? She works for the California State Board of Medicine. She wouldn't be able to see you for months, 6 months or more." And I just said, "I'm sorry, I had no idea. I just called a number at the back of the book. If there's a cancellation, will you call me?" And she said, "Well, it's not likely, but I'll call you if there is one." Got off the phone and just confronted with waves of shame. And finally, 3 days later, she called me. And there was an appointment available in about 6 weeks' time, and did I want it? And I didn't know the nature of my condition was that the cells were starting to replicate rapidly. And as a matter of fact, I was looking about 6 months pregnant by the time I got to the surgeon, though I knew that wasn't true. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing that happened, the whole graphic description, but at the end of seeing the doctor, she said, well, you're about equivalent to 6 months pregnant with a tumor that's the size of a basketball. Now, you would have thought, with all my background and all that I'd learned over all those years, diplomas and everything, I would have taken that news with some sort of calm. But I got to tell you something. My mind was going a million miles a minute, and the more she was talking, I could barely think or even ask the right questions. I was grateful I had my best girlfriend there, because she could ask the questions that I didn't even ask, and I could feel this panic starting to build. And I said, please, I finally stopped her from talking, this doctor, and it was making it sound worse and worse. And I said, I'm in the complementary medical field, and I've been certified in so many areas, and I need to be given a chance to give it my best shot. And she said, Brandon, you came to my clinic because I practice integrative medicine. And connected to this, we do acupuncture, we put people on cleanses, we do herbs, we do homeopathics, we do breath work, guided visualization. If I thought you could go that route, that's the route I would recommend for you. But you've got to get real. This bleeding is internal bleeding. This is not your period happening. You need to get real. You need to get hospital today. We need to find out is it malignant or benign, but it's not going to matter. We're going to have to surgically remove it. And after 20 minutes of talking to her about all the different ways I was certified, I got her to agree that if I could get the bleeding to stop over the next 3 days, she'd give me a month's time. And I left her office, big sigh of relief that I had a month to give it my best shot. And I was holding my best friend's hand. And at this point, my heart's pounding through the roof, and my mind's going a million miles a minute. And as I stepped outside into the California sunshine, I looked up, and in front of me, there was a mimosa tree that looked like golden rain. I hadn't even noticed the mimosa tree going in to her offices. And as I looked at that mimosa tree, it was as if time stopped. And my racing thinking mind just wound down and fell into the background. And out of nowhere, waves of gratitude came flooding. Gratitude to be able to see the color yellow, to smell a fragrance I hadn't even noticed coming in. Gratitude just to be allowed to breathe. And while I was resting in this ocean of gratitude, out of nowhere came a gut knowing. Somehow I would be guided to him. And though I didn't have a clue how that would be, I was so grateful for all the work going in the field of cellular healing. And specifically for the work of Dr. Deepak Chopra, who at that time was a chief surgeon general in a hospital in Boston. And that what he decided to do is he said, we know enough about what causes disease. I want to know what causes people to heal without any kind of medical intervention or drugs or surgery. What causes them to heal? And he amassed hundreds and ultimately thousands of case studies, and he found that he could only find 2 qualities in common with all these case studies, is that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, people got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence, the part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. An infinite field of awareness, of love that you came in as, actually. The second thing that they had in common was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the phantom cell memory. And if somehow they got access to the actual cell memory and went through some spontaneous process of release, when new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. Now, I knew all this. I was at the cutting edge of what was happening in the field of healing. But I got to tell you something. You can know all the science on the planet. You can understand how cells replicate and pass on the programming from one cell generation to the next, to the next. As a matter of fact, when I went to see the surgeon, she said to me, it probably started as one cell when you were around 8 years old, and it became two. It replicated. And then in the last months before I got to see her, the cells were replicating exponentially, and that I looked so huge, you know. And so what's happening is that spontaneously people were somehow interrupting that programming, getting access to that cell memory, and somehow releasing the consciousness, the pain, whatever was stored there, so that when the new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. Now, I knew all that. I'd actually seen case studies with my own eyes. I knew what was possible. But you can know all the science on the planet, and unless you have a method, it's no more than a bunch of possibilities on a piece of paper. And that's where I stood as I looked at that mimosa tree. And yet, I had this gut knowing somehow I would be guided to heal. How that was going to be, I had no clue, but I did heal. And in only 6.5 weeks' time, it was a radical, life-changing, very humbling spiritual journey. And in 6.5 weeks' time, I found myself in hospital, and they did dozens of scans of my uterus, and I was pronounced textbook perfect clean, completely tumor-free. And my whole journey had been without drugs or surgery. And so I knew that all of it was really just a download from grace. And I had a feeling, I wondered if this was happening to me, because people were at a time where they were ready to participate in their own healing journey, ready to open into this vast field of grace, of healing intelligence, ready to be guided by their own soul on a journey inside their bodies, ready to uncover and face and clear these old traumas, these emotional pains, the old issues, the family held themes that they never could clear, so that when new cells are born, they're born free from that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. Now, that original process was born out of my own direct experience, but as I've worked with people over the last 30 years, I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And so the work has evolved and expanded and grown, and now we have journeys, thousands and thousands of journey practitioners around the world who are offering this work. And I'm continuing to offer this work around the world. And so if I had to say, what is the journey in a nutshell? The best way I could describe it is to say that we, all of us, come into this world as this radiant, vast field of awareness, as love, as peace. As a matter of fact, science will tell you that when you are a newborn infant, you feel yourself to be a vast field of love that's part of and in everything. And when mother's hand comes before the infant's eyes, mother's hand feels as if it's your own hand. That's how one this infinite love is that you are. But unfortunately, this vast field of connection with all of existence gets covered over with a series of painful episodes and shutdowns, traumas, lies, limitations. And it can be something simple, like you're 3 years old and you're crying about something. And your mother says, come, 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 we've got to dry your tears. We've got to get off to nursery school. And the little you gets it. Oh, I'm not allowed to feel, at least not the ones with the tears. And the first involuntary automatic shutdown happens. Or it can be the kind of thing, I remember I was 8 years old and I was in a place in myself where I'd grown up in domestic violence, and the ways that I used to escape was to escape in my children's books. And when you loved reading as much as I loved reading, well, I became good at it and I became a good speller, and I got chosen to represent the third graders for a big spelling bee that was a county-wide spelling bee for all the grade schools, elementary schools. All the schools in the area were coming together, and I was representing the third graders in our school, and I was on stage, and I'd already spelled 3 difficult words. And then they gave me one of the easiest words in the English language, the word fleet. Now, I'd never seen that in any of my children's books, but I'd seen the word flea and insect, and I stood there and I said, F-L-E, A-T? And the whole audience was hushed. And then it erupted into laughter. Now, no one had given me a manual. How do you deal with mass humiliation in front of all your friends, the teachers, the parents, the students? And I looked to my mom, who was sitting in the 3rd row, for support. And she looked at me as if I was the greatest disappointment in her life. It just shook her head and went, and internally, it was as if a wall just came slamming down inside of me. And I went to the back of the stage to be with the other losers. And that day I decided, I'm just so stupid. I'm a laughing stock. I'll never be good at anything. I'm just not smart enough. I'll never be good at or succeed at anything in my life. And it's like this, layer upon layer. Then when we get to be adults, we cover this whole mess over with this phony mask that we present to the world. And then we wonder why it is everyone thinks that we're so full of, and you could finish that sentence. And then if you get to be very lucky, as I have been more lucky than I can possibly thank life, grace, the universe for, life gives you a wake-up call. And it can come in so many forms, in the loss of a loved one, in a pandemic, as one woman said. It can come in the form of a war taking place, in the form of a divorce, in the forms of lockdowns, loss of jobs, loss of coping skills. In my case, it came in the form of a serious illness, where for 1 minute, you decide to get real. And you crack through this hardened veneer, this mask you're presenting to the world. And spontaneously, you start opening down through the layers of the lies, pain, the shutdown. And spontaneously, you end up opening into this vast field of peace, of love. That is your essence. That is your soul. And you realize it's been there all along. Only like me, you bought into all the layers that covered it. And then if you're very lucky, you fall so in love with the truth inside that, like me, you will do anything to clear whatever blocks you, whatever obscures you, whatever holds you back on any level of being, so that this radiant love, this peace that is your essence, can live your life. So if I had to say, what is the journey really about? It's about getting real. It's about opening down through the layers of the lies and pain into this love, into your soul, and you are guided by that infinite intelligence to specific cellular locations inside the body to uncover what's stored there, the programming, the pain, the trauma, the stress, whatever it is, and you go through a radical, life-changing process of release, letting go, understanding, ultimately forgiveness, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So though I would love to go through teaching you the whole journey work, I can't, obviously, in a discovery session. You know, that's something you would need to go in a 3-day immersion and really undergo the emotional journey, the physical journey, advanced skills to really come away with the tools and to be washed clean and find this love that is your essence. But what I would like all of us to do tonight, and if you're willing, just to do a divine experiment, we will go through what I call a gentle welcome, where you will begin to befriend your body, to learn how to befriend your emotions, how to open with what your body is trying to tell you, what it's trying to reveal to you, so you can begin taking these baby steps towards really listening to your body. And so you've got nothing to lose but some baggage and everything to gain by starting to be present with yourself. So though this isn't the journey process, it will help open you into your beginning steps in starting to listen to your body, to uncover the emotions that are stored there. So if you'd like to join me, I'm asking you to just play along and let's give it a shot. We're going to go through a guided meditation and introspection. So let us all take a nice deep breath in and letting it out and closing the eyes and just becoming aware of your own awareness, that it's vast, it's spacious, free and endless in front of you. That your own presence is vast and open, spacious behind. It's infinite and free, spacious to all sides. And letting your heart right now open and become as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome all the feelings and emotions that live inside of you. That's how vast this vast open sky of all acceptance is. And now let's turn our gaze inside the body. And you already know this. The body is full of all kinds of emotions. And you know, our emotions, they're like little kids. Some of our emotions, they're loud and attention-seeking, like a child, always trying to get our attention. Some of your feelings, you've rejected so many times that they're scared of you. They feel shy and they hide beneath lids behind closed doors. Others of you, your emotions, you buried so deeply, they don't even come up anymore. And so just putting out a heartfelt welcome to all the feelings that live here. And if it feels appropriate, you might even say you're sorry for having pushed them away so many times and rejected them. And then locating a part of your body right now. There might be a little tension or stress or contraction or holding or hiding going on. Just locate a part of your body where there is that little bit of tension or stress or holding going on. And taking right now a deep breath of acceptance and flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften that area and marinate it and tenderize it. And if there were an emotion just beginning to softly arise out of that area, what might that feeling be? Might be quiet as a whisper. So just open to whatever's arising there. And give it a voice. If it could speak and had words, what would this part of the body say to you right now? And just be open to listening. Let it voice what it wants to say. Or perhaps a picture's showing up out of nowhere. If there is a picture, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or perhaps this area feels like it's got some sort of lid over it, something blocking what's here. Assuming that there is a lid, in the same way you would peel back the lid of a can of peanuts, take hold of this lid right now and lift it off. What's hiding here? And how does it make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. Taking in a deep breath of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance, and then come to neutral. Finding another part of your body where you feel there's a little bit of tension or stress or contraction going on or holding or hiding. But just let your awareness go to that area. Locate that area where there is that bit of contraction or stress or holding or hiding. And take another deep breath in of acceptance. And now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften that area and marinate it and tenderize it. And feeling like whatever's here is being bathed in safety and it's allowed to come up. And if there were a feeling starting to arise, what might that feeling be? Might be as quiet as a whisper. But if there were a feeling, what might it be? Just let it arise. Or if this area could speak and had words, and you were to give it a voice, what would it say right now? As you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Or perhaps pictures coming up. If there's a picture just arising, and there may or may not be, step into it. How are you feeling in the picture? Or perhaps it's like there's a closed door to this part of the body. If there is, take hold of the handle of the door and open it up. What's hiding here? And how does it make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here. And also whatever's not here. Taking a nice deep breath in and letting it out. And coming to neutral inside the body. And finding yet a third part of your body where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that area right now. Take a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and open and be tenderized. And if there were an emotion starting to arise spontaneously out of that area, what might that emotion be? If there were an emotion, what is it? What do you sense it might be? Or if this area could speak, it had words, what would it say right now? Give it a voice. Let the words arise in your awareness. And as you listen, how do they make you feel? Or perhaps there's a picture. If there is, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or if there is that lid, take hold of it and lift it off. What's hiding here? How does it make you feel? Welcoming all that is here and all that is not here. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance, coming to neutral. And then you might like to say to your body that you're sorry you haven't listened in the past, that you haven't been present. And if it feels appropriate, you might like to commit to begin this journey by being present with yourself, opening with yourself, listening to yourself, listening to what the body is trying to tell you. So if that feels appropriate, you can make that commitment to yourself. Taking a nice deep breath in and sigh it out. And once again, the awareness is vast, spacious, free and endless in front of you, boundlessly spacious behind, free and vast to all sides. The heart is as wide as the world. Taking another nice deep breath in and letting it out. And another nice deep breath in and letting it out. And you can open your eyes now into this field of all acceptance. And so this was just a little toe dip, although many of you may have experienced that your body was so happy that you were willing to be present and open with it, that some deeper emotions revealed themselves. And this is just the beginning steps of starting to uncover and be open with your body and listen to what your body is trying to tell you, and to welcome emotions instead of pushing them away and running from them and fearing them, that you're actually willing to feel, be present and listen. And many of you may have had strong emotions come up, and I welcome you to share those in the chat box. And I will ask Gabby to just share some of the emotions that are showing up in the chat box. And for me, I already the reason I'm wiping my eyes is because I had emotions coming up even during that short introspection. And I know the body's always grateful when you listen.
Yvonne is sharing that she had a lot of anger show up in the meditation. I'm waiting for more comments to come through. But it was a pretty deep meditation, so I'm sure most people accessed.
Some feelings beginning to show up, yeah.
Outrage about not having my needs met, fear.
Yeah. What else?
Feeling of not being good enough, a broken heart and anger towards myself.
These are pretty deep issues, and they get stored inside the body, and then they have a life of their own. And really, my prayer is that it doesn't show up as a wake-up call down the line, that you decide that you're worth it to begin your journey, to start clearing these issues before they manifest as disease, so that you're not doing it post facto, as is happening in the hospitals in Israel, but rather that you're clearing them before they show up as disease or illness or trauma down the line. And
so many more emotions were mentioned here in the chat box now. A sadness of being unsupported and being under pressure, being silenced, grief, overwhelm, sadness for what did not happen, feeling of hiding my light for safety. And somebody shared and said it was very chaotic inside me and difficult to listen and concentrate. So
yeah,
fear,
a lot
sadness
coming up at once. Yeah.
Fear, sadness, and not being true to myself, So yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I pray for everyone is that you fall in love with yourself as I have, and that, like me, you're willing to clear whatever blocks you, whatever shuts you down, whatever holds you back on any level of being, so that this radiant love that is your essence can live your life. Prior to the COVID, I was on tour 44 out of 52 weeks in a year. And I got a process once a week while I was on tour. I never wanted to be so arrogant as to say I've got it all handled. I know I've got more than one cell memory, one emotional issue stored in this body, and I feel it's a privilege to clear whatever's obscuring me or blocking me or holding me back on any level of being. And so I really want to encourage you that if you've uncovered something deep and you have a longing to really heal your life emotionally, physically, spiritually, that you have a longing to come home to the truth of who you are, to the peace that's inside, and start living your life authentically from your own essence. And I strongly really recommend that if your heart's called, you should find your way to a journey intensive. And they're happening online all around the world, in European time zone, Australian time zone, in American time zone. And there's a way that now, because of COVID, we had to move online. And it used to be you could only get to seminars by flying in and staying in hotels and attending the journey intensive. But right now, You can take the entire Journey Intensive in your own home at a fraction of the cost of what it used to cost to take the same teachings and have the same process work and tools and skills and liberation take place and healing take place as happened in the live seminar. And I've been so moved that so many people who couldn't come because they simply just couldn't afford it can now. And so what happens at the Journey Intensive is it's called an intensive because it's a deep immersion. And after I'm teaching you all about the different teachings, then you will go through on the very first day, the emotional journey with a partner, another student, and you'll have the embrace of journey practitioners who are there to hold the embrace with you. So that if you have any question about what you're going through, you can raise your hand in your breakout room and they will come in. And I go to journey practitioners for my processes. So these are incredible beings who've completed 45 case studies and went through a year long of training in 6 different courses. And they're there to hold an expert and loving embrace for you to have the deepest experience. So you actually undergo the process work. It's not theoretical, it's practical, where you're experiencing the emotional journey, where you learn how to open into that infinite intelligence, into your own soul. And the second day, you'll be going through the physical journey, where you literally go on a journey inside your body to cellular locations. And then on the third day, you're learning all the advanced skills about how the different issues got passed on through our DNA and how we have energetic cords tied to other people and how to sever them healthily and on, how to sweep yourself clean of beliefs that never even were yours. They were your parents' beliefs and your teachers' beliefs, on and on. You'll be learning these advanced skills, which will make doing the journey work so much more comprehensive. And not only will you feel washed clean from having 3 processes over the weekend and guided introspections and meditations, but you will also have a set of tools that you can take and use with your loved ones, with your children, your parents, your friends. And so it's really a huge gift where you're learning how to take the lampshade off your own light and help others to do the same, to take the lampshade off their lights. And so Gabby can share with you how and where these are taking place and time zones, and also about the lottery that they're going to pick someone who gets a free
Can you
place.
show me, send it on the phone? Oops, I'm so
And so I'm going to turn you over to Gabby so you can hear all about it. And with this work, it's not for people of casual interest. This is for people who genuinely want to roll up your sleeves, dive in, and really do the work necessary to clear and heal your life and clear all the blocks so that you come home to the freedom that is your essence. So I'm turning you over to Gabby, and she'll share the last bits and pieces, and someone will be picked to go to a journey intensive. And just a heartfelt namaste and gratitude to all of you for participating and also for sending in such in-depth and beautiful messages of what you're going through right now. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for this beautiful, beautiful session that I'm sure connected people with what's going on inside the body, and that there are some unresolved issues. And the journey is just one of the tools that is so profoundly potent to get to these issues and to clear them out completely. And I've had the great privilege to support events from the very beginning, well, not just in live seminars around the world, which has been a huge, huge honor and privilege. But I've also been witnessing what's been happening in the world of online since we went through COVID. And we literally, in a very, very short period of time, had to transfer our events to online because nothing changed in any given time. And so what my experience was that was the online events were equally as powerful as the live event. So if you have an idea or a concept that online it doesn't work, it's different, I want to be with people in another room, there are just as many people who now probably prefer being online. Our carbon footprint has been greatly reduced by that, and the benefits are equally as profound and huge and potent. So that I just wanted to say that because it works so well, and the way you end up processing, the way you have a trainer support, so all of that stayed in place. And we have scheduled in such a way that day 1 and day 2 is a Saturday and Sunday, and then day 3 is a Monday, and we call it a bonus day. Now, if there's for any reason a way that you can't be here on a Monday, and from experience, actually most people stay for the Monday, you can catch up with it online in your own time. So this is the advanced skills. It kind of takes you a little bit deeper, and the third process where you can swap with somebody. So all of that is happening in different places around the world. And our next event here in Europe is at the 29th of June to 1st of July. Here we are, here it's right in front of me. And then North America is 23rd to 25th of July, and Australasia is the 19th to the 21st of October is the next one. Now you can see the pricing there. It's 197 euros or dollars, or 397 Australian dollars. Now we have had an amazing celebration in the month of May. I don't know if you caught us or if you saw some of the emails that came out, but the journey has celebrated its 30th birthday. Now in May 1996, Brandon offered her first journey intensive to a small group of people in a friend's apartment, and that was in May 1994. So the journey has a track record of profound transformation for 30 years now. And what we did in May, and we want to continue this for this particular upcoming event, we continue to offer for everyone who is here at this particular event today a 30% discount, which you get if you enter a code. And the code is JI 30 years. The years is in small letters, so JI 30 years. And with that, it will automatically reduce the amount of 197 by 30%. And I think it comes down to 137 euros and 90 cents, or the same in dollars, in US dollars. Haven't worked it out for the Australians, apologies, but that is available. And we're sticking with the number 3 for the next 3 days. So until Sunday night, this 30% special birthday discount, JI 30 years, is available from today, from now until Sunday evening. So for 3 days, if there is anything that rang true that Brandon shared here in this session that somehow caught you, or you uncovered deep emotions, we all have them. You are not alone, and we can learn a tool with which we can clear it out. So it is the best 137 euros or dollars you've ever spent, and it's a gift. It is really a gift, and this is just a little support for our team who are hosting these events. But it's the first event where you learn the process work, and then it's yours to keep. And we can navigate life, the difficulties, the challenges that life presents us, so much more powerful, and so whatever you learn, whatever you process, is already transformative, and then it's yours to keep. So I invite you with all my heart to these upcoming events in the next few months in Europe, in Australia, and on the American time zone. And I said at the beginning that we're giving away a free place for the Journey Intensive, and we do that to kind of just celebrate these discovery sessions, these discovery evenings. And for today, we have chosen, and I'm not sure if you are male or female, but the name is Miha Balzara. So I felt like you were here from the beginning, you participated, you threw yourself in, and our support team will reach out to you. So if you are here, that means you had a link. So we have you in our database. Miha Balzara, if you don't hear from us in the next couple of days, can you please send an email to support@thejourney.com? support@thejourney.com, and they will reach out to you as well. So I invite you with all my heart. If by any chance you've already done the Journey Intensive and you're just revisiting this session, then please give it to a friend. And I discussed with Brandon before we started here, this 30% discount, it's not just for you. If there is a friend, if there is something you want to bring along, if there is something you know would benefit from this work, let them know that in the next 3 days until Sunday night, we have a 30% discount and you can get this hugely life-transforming work for 137 euros or dollars, which is an absolute gift. It used to cost like 4 times as much when we were in a live seminar environment. So this is so affordable. It is so easy to participate, and it works, and I know that it works. So I really invite you with all my heart, and I hope we see as many as possible of you at the end of June at this upcoming Journey Intensive here in Europe, or in July at the one in Northern America, or South America is just the time zone, or then in October on the Australian time zone. So on that note, I send a heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being here this evening, and I hope we'll see you. So just remember the code. You will get an email as well with the replay if there is something you need to listen again or want to do the exercise or introspection with Brandon again, but also the code for the 30% discount, JI 30 years. So we're still celebrating our 30-year anniversary of the journey. So with that, I hope we'll see you soon. Thank you with all my heart, and namaste. Thank you.
My biggest win with the journey was being able to access my deepest emotions and free myself from them. I feel more calm and serene.
I found my true calling, and now today I can help others. I love to make an impact. I love to see transformation in others' lives.
For years and years, I used to feel very lonely, and now I just feel a part of everything. I feel I'm alive.
My biggest win with joining the practitioner program is owning my own life back and stepping out of a severe PTSD.
The acceptance of myself and the self-love, so I don't need others to love me. That's perfectly okay.
Life is different now because of joining the journey, because I just live in so much abundance. You know, I get up every day with a joy for living. I want to go to work. I want to meet other people.
My biggest win was the really deep knowing I actually do have the answers. They are within me.
There is a lot more certainty and openness into where I'm heading and how I'm feeling about things.
I feel more connected to life. It's not an easy path for anyone to do healing work, but it's profound.
1, I'm more balanced. 2, I'm more grateful for those persons who helped me in this life. I enrich my life every day with this wisdom.
It's priceless. There's no better, bigger investment we can do in time, money, or energy.
I was a mess before I started with this work, and I healed from lots of different types of abuse, and that's a miracle.
My life now, because of the journey, is transformed. I have confidence. Even if I struggle, it's just I have to let go. It's step after step, and it's no danger at the end.
My biggest win is myself. It doesn't have to be
anything else. You can be fulfilled even if you only have yourself.
It's more peaceful. I've learned to process emotions. I learned to be more self-aware, and I've learned when you need to ask for help.
I've been able to have a really deep, long, soulful look at myself, and I've been able to uncover, recover, and heal long-term wounds.
My biggest win being a journey practitioner has been becoming a therapist and a healer, because that's what I never imagined it to be.
I'm living from a place of freedom and choice. I'm really conscious in every moment. Any sentence I say, it's coming from just pure goodness.
I feel more authentic, wearing much less of a mask. It's about being you and feeling good about it.
I can embrace all that is. I'm here to share my life, my joy. Now I can just be me.
My own journey of healing from cancer is an inspiration for others. I get to work with amazing people, see amazing transformations in their life.
My biggest win is to be yourself. Just be there for other people, to help other people heal, and just to be there.
I know that no matter what comes, I have the right instrument to deal with whatever emotions every situation will bring to me.
It really has helped me come back to a place of wholeness. I feel like completely authentic. I feel genuine. I feel like I'm in my body.
My big win is my courage and my physical healing, my emotional healing. But in one word, I could say freedom.
The journey is all about releasing all of the emotions that create the illness. I was healed physically within 6 weeks, while I had been in pain over 3.5 years.